Daisy. All right.
Bonjour, bonsoir. C'est Planically une autre fois. Comme je dis toujours, quand Planically c'est en présent à la télévision. Et je suis...
Oui, oui.
et c'est rêve.
Dream.
Dream. Et c'est Public Access TV comme toujours. Et, mais peut-être vous pouvez lire Richard Rance and Nick Fell are the guests.
Put us on camera, please.
I will.
Rich Rance and Nick Fell from Galaxy Chamber.
Here we are. Yay! Yes, we're here. Peace and love.
Richard's
Peace
from
and love,
Galaxy Chamber
y'all.
too. He's part of the theatrical wing.
Yep.
And thank you very much. And you wanted to talk about the Dreamers today, and your shirt says Dream. And I just wanted to bring up really quick the Aboriginal Dreamtime people who looked at the dreams being more reality, and the waking hours is the cloudy kind of, illusionary time. So, but we're going to talk about a different type of dreamer, I guess. Dave?
Yeah.
Well,
Good.
what was I gonna say? Oh,
Is there a shot with all three of us?
The ones getting arrested.
There we are.
yeah,
Yes, indeed.
the ones that are still getting found at
Right.
schools
Right.
or wherever they may be found.
Icy dreams.
We started talking about that at the end of my show.
Oh,
It's
good.
interesting morph, yeah.
Yeah, because my Texas caller was talking about how afraid people are over
Right.
there. Kids are afraid to go to school. And, meanwhile, children are being traumatized by seeing their parents dragged off by the police as they take them to school.
Right.
And schools are supposed to be an area like hospitals and courthouses where, ICE doesn't come in and do that to people and violate their rights.
Yeah.
Feds out of California.
Feds out of Cali. That's what I've been saying. And I don't know why I haven't heard more of this, because I think ICE, DEA, they like to talk about states' rights. The right wing likes to talk about states' rights, like the state has the right to decide their own policies, right? But when they use it, it's because they want the states to be able to discriminate against people for voting and suppress voting and things like that.
Right.
And states' rights was a major issue that was used by Jim Crow in the South to, give an excuse for why they might have the power to discriminate against black people. But, so they're all for states' rights when it comes to that. But if the state of California and Colorado want to let people smoke some weed,
Right, well,
no.
remember
That's
Romney?
no, the feds have to
Right.
crack down on that. Or if we want to provide sanctuary to people who are refugees from dangers in their home countries, no, the feds need to crack down on that. No, we need to assert our states' rights and keep the feds out of Cali.
Right on. Well, remember when Romney was going on about states' rights, but when it came to medical marijuana, like you were saying, that shouldn't be left up to the states. 'Cause,
Right.
That wasn't
Because they're damned hypocrites, and all
Right.
they really want to do
Right.
is suppress the vote of minorities and black people and reduce people's rights, whether if you're different than what they think is supposed to be the norm, which according to them is like a white Christian straight
Like a-
person.
Vice
A
President
white
Pence,
Christian straight person.
a Vice President Pence stereotype or archetype, right? So yeah, I mean it's double standard, definitely.
Hypocrites, damned hypocrites.
And the whole chasm, John Edwards, many people, but John Edwards, who's running for vice president, brought up the two Americas. And the
Yeah.
chasm's growing between the rural America even more in the cities. I mean, even in the same state, within like 40 miles of each other, you could say Chicago, and you go 40 miles out, and you have all these factories closed, and it's abandoned and poor, and there's all kinds of opiate addiction stuff. And then in the cities, you have all this tech stuff and medical stuff coming in, and the chasm's just really growing, and I don't know if any of those
Right.
kind of jobs could ever come back, manufacturing jobs and things like that. But,
Yeah, and the chasm between the rich and everybody else too.
Right.
The top
And we
fraction
see-
of 1%.
We see it right here in San Francisco with all the rich
Mm-hmm.
tech people owning houses and poor homeless people sleeping right outside, like
Yeah.
a couple feet away.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, here in this neighborhood, as a matter of
In
Oh,
this
fact.
there's so
neighborhood,
many
yeah.
homeless people, and people have been saying for years that there are a lot of homeless people in San Francisco. People come from elsewhere and they say, "Wow, you have a lot of homeless people." They've been saying that for years, and I would say, "Yeah, we got a few, but not really." But lately, I have
Right.
to say, yeah, we do have a whole lot of homeless people, more than ever before.
Right, right. Well, there's more people here in general, and more homeless
Right.
people with them.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
how will it be in 2025 or 30? I mean, it's just going to be
Yeah,
Manhattan
and
on
no one will have any
steroids.
medical care either
Right.
if the Republicans get their way.
Right.
Well, see, that's the whole point. Thank you, Richard. Feel free to call in, I know you guys call,
Or don't
Richard's-
call in. We don't want you because we're having a great discourse without you. So don't call in.
But if you did call, you would call 415-861-6648. But don't.
Yeah, we don't really want you to call in and interrupt us.
No,
so.
actually we do, but this is reverse psychology. And telling you that is reverse psychology.
Wow.
Yeah,
Someone's had too much
yeah.
coffee. No, anyway.
yeah, well, this morning, on KPFA, they were talking about how if you don't have a residence and you don't have a mailbox even, you only receive like $17 in food stamps.
Oh my God.
Is that ridiculous?
Right. No, I've always thought that rule was weird. How if you're more established, you get more. But if you're actually not and you're really homeless, you get less, and you actually need to get more.
Yeah.
It's like,
So what's the logic?
yeah. Well, I think they
The
want a
logic
place
is
to
to
mail.
spend nothing on helping people and to get more money to the rich.
Right, and they want to know where people live. They want like an official address, so it works with their records. But yeah, I mean, it's not really about totally helping people. And then a lot of with the social services, there's a benefit for the people who provide them too. It's always a trade off. But yeah, I mean, it's just getting to be more and more intense. But you were wanting to talk about the Dreamers more, unless we covered
Yeah.
that.
We didn't. We didn't actually
I
cover
wish
that.
No, I
the
didn't cover it.
Dreamers. I think that originally came from the filmmaker from Mexico, Irito.
Hmm.
He directed The Revenant,
Mm-hmm.
which is like the first sort of film to be totally shot with no lights.
Okay,
And
almost like the Bauhaus minimal approach of the 20s.
okay,
Yeah.
but this is shot mainly outside.
Okay.
And the one thing about Mexico is that Irito at the Oscars a couple years ago called the people who are coming up from on trains. You see them in the film Sin Nombre.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen that. It's very
Yeah.
powerful. It shows the people who are just like
heard of the
on
director,
top of
yeah.
the trains.
Right. Any way
And-
to get across.
Any way to get across.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Right.
but
Like,
Irito called them the
yeah.
Dreamers.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know. What does anybody think about that?
I think one day we'll join them and the world will be as one.
Well, just to repeat a
Couldn't
little
resist.
background on the Dreamers here. This is President Obama's DACA program,
Right.
which gave the children of people who originally immigrated illegally and had children here in the United States. So the children are actually United States citizens. Is that the case? No, these are not about the children who are citizens. These are the children who are brought over because the citizens have a little bit more protection.
Yes.
These are the children who were brought over when they were very young. So they grew up here in America, but they weren't actually born in America. So now they were raised as Americans. They've gone through the whole American school system.
They don't even remember that
but-
they weren't from here 'cause
Right.
they're too young.
They are,
So
for
they-
all intents and
yeah.
purposes, American. They
Right.
feel American. This is their home. And once they graduate high school, all of a sudden they can't get financial aid for college. They can't get a decent job. All these other things because they don't have the documents necessary for a legal resident. So the DACA program gave these people a path to allow them to work and perhaps in the future get the proper documents to be permanent residents. But at least for now, they were going to be spared deportation to a country that they never lived in anyway, that they don't know. They're Americans. They can contribute to our society, so it gave them a path, perhaps to citizenship, but at least for the moment, at least to stay, be able to get some financial aid, be able to get some education, be able to get a job. So now, of course, with their policies of bigotry against Mexicans, the Trump administration is going to come down, and some of these dreamers who were given the opportunity to contribute more fully to the society that they grew up in, that they feel a part of, are being arrested by ICE agents, basically Gestapo style, secret police style, sent and deported as if, you know, they were criminals. And the criminal part is that this is being done to them. That's what's criminal.
Yes. Thank you, Richard. And the racism thing is the hugest of all.
Right.
You know, nobody Trump, I looked him up. His family is one half German and the other half
The drums.
they say Scottish, but whatever.
You know.
But now this gives Germany a bad name. I don't mean to do that.
No, I'm sorry. What really gives Germany a bad name is that the Nazis were from there. But
Yes.
Yeah,
yeah.
but I just want to say I'm
That's-
partially
But
German.
ever since then, they've been great. Right
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
Germany is a beacon
Yeah, right.
of
Germany a
humanitarianism.
lot is judged
It
on the
is.
12-year
They really
administration.
are.
You know, what if
Yeah.
what if we were judged on this Trump administration? So
Oh, I'm
well,
not judging them. I'm just saying it tarnishes
Right.
their past reputation. But the
Right.
fact is that right now, they are the beacon of democracy,
Well,
not
yeah,
America.
yeah. I mean, just look at
True.
Merkel and Trump's meeting they
Yeah.
had, and
Point.
how Angela
Thank you.
Merkel
Yeah.
was the, smooth statesperson, and Donald Trump came off as like a cartoon character, and
Well,
Angela
we all know that
Merkel,
the Germans are known to be competent people, and
Well, yeah.
they've
Yeah.
very competently been able to take care
They're
of their
judged
people.
a lot of times in the media on that 12-year administration because it was so earth-shaking, But like the band Einsters and Neubauten was playing here a number of years back, and some idiot yelled out some stuff about Nazi, and they're a very
That's
cool band.
they're like the furthest thing
Right.
from the Nazis.
And he shot back of, boy, you guys really treated your American Indians well.
Yeah, right.
Which was
yeah.
really
That
a
is
lot
a
of
good
people
comeback.
clapped.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Blitzer Bargeld.
Yeah.
I've met him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
I
those
speak
guys
a
are
little,
great.
I speak
Love
some
them.
German, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Sound of collapsing buildings maker, whatever. That's Einsters and Neubauten, what it
Yeah.
means.
Uh-huh.
But, yeah,
Collapsing
that's
new
the
Einstein
band.
buildings
and
is
the
what it
Neubauten.
means. Yeah.
Sorry. But,
Yeah.
And they did that song with Thad Gadget called "Collapsing
Right.
New People."
Right.
Well, that is another point. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the racism. However, I think that
Look, that's us.
yeah, we talked about the racism, but
No justice, it's just us.
it's not only there. I'm sure you heard that there was a woman who grew up in Nazi Germany in from the 30s, I guess, from Kristallnacht to 1945. I love Hannah Arendt.
Yeah.
Have you read her On Evil?
Yeah, I need to reread the whole thing. It's very relevant right now because she talks
Good
about
point.
how a dictator like Hitler can rise in a country that otherwise, didn't seem like it was that racist
It
or
was a
that
country
violent.
of beer and pretzels post World War One,
and
yeah.
that's basically the it's totally the analogy has been overused, yes, but at this point the Trump phenomenon has so many similarities that actually it's a very valid analogy.
Well,
in this case.
the Horst Wessel group, who Hitler kind of mobilized in all the pubs, were supposed working class people, but not liberal working class. Like he appealed to their thing
Right.
of like, oh, it's about you, and the government's screwing you over, so you have this carte blanche to, be oppressive and act dictatorial. And he actually, Hitler had this kind of shadow advisor. I forget his name.
Goebbels.
No, that was his minister of propaganda later. But as he was climbing to power in the Beerputz days, when the Horst Wessel was this kind of thug who was murdered, and they decided to make a song out of him and made him this working class hero. And Hitler championed his whole what happened to him, and he had this shadow advisor who kind of set them all up. And then once Hitler got into power, this guy kind of disappeared, kind of like a Karl Rove, Lee Atwater character, but even more powerful. So that's kind of interesting if you study the whole. And then
Bannon, huh?
Bannon, right? And then the Rothschild family actually was the first ones, Jews from England, to fund Hitler and everything. So go figure, there's that whole thing about Hitler could actually.
Well,
be a
Hitler was
Rothschild.
funded very widely by
Right.
American industrialists,
Exactly.
including George W. Bush's
Great-grandfather,
great-grandpappy, Prescott Bush.
Right.
So you can look that up, and they were funding the Nazis too.
Remember
Can I
when
say one
Reagan?
thing?
Oh yeah, no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, Hannah Arendt, the book is, the thesis is that evil is the absence of thought. That's her.
Oh, look, you got a call.
Or let's say the
Hello?
absence of deliberate thought.
Prof?
Yeah, so,
Hey, it's a prof.
I told you it was the prof.
yeah, I want to give you a little historical background.
Tell us.
Two things. They've done research to see if any particular nationality is any more evil than any other.
And none are. Sorry, I'm taking away your thunder. Go ahead.
Well, no, that is the conclusion.
I know. I read about
because
it.
it's
Sounds
more.
like Sesame Street. Of course, that's the conclusion.
Well, it's
Sorry, I
more.
didn't mean
It turns out it's more circumstantial than an ethnic trait.
Yeah.
If you set up the right authority figure, people will do things that are atrocities if it's presented to them in certain ways. And you look around the world throughout history, at one time or another, all over the globe, different areas that seem peaceful now were conquerors and oppressors
Right.
themselves.
Yeah.
I mean,
The Danes.
the
you know,
Mongols, the Chinese,
Yeah. Even the English. They're not really
Japanese,
conquerors anymore.
the English, yeah, the Vikings, the Spanish,
Yeah.
even the Dutch.
Even the Dutch. Yeah, the Dutch East India Company and such.
So it's really more a state of conditioning, and that brings us to the thing that really has to be taught in schools, which is don't allow your own country to set up those conditions that
Right.
turn your country into a monster.
Right.
Well, wouldn't you say that's what the media and Trump are doing?
Well, they're
Because
trying.
They're right. They're trying. And where do we fit in trying to stop them?
I think your best place is education.
Okay.
I mean, if you or anybody, there's not a lot you can do with an older adult. They're
What do you
usually
mean?
they're usually pretty
Nothing to
set in
do
their
with.
ways. I'm saying comparative value. You have a better chance of opening the mind of a young person, like extremely young.
Quite so. Quite so.
And that's where you have to, at the root, steer the ship in a better direction.
Yeah, that's why the Republicans are trying to starve education.
Well, exactly. They don't want an educated public.
Nope.
Here's an interesting sociological statistic. The white culture is the farthest away from their tribal roots. Compared to the blacks or the
The
Mexicans.
white culture? What the hell is white culture?
White people.
What is
There's
white
no
culture?
white culture.
There's no white culture.
I'm talking white people. It's been the longest
There are
since
white
they've
people
lived
from
tribally.
all over the world.
No, go back and study history. The tribal culture, the last time the whites were the Celtic,
The whites?
Vikings. I'm just saying.
I disagree with that characterization.
Well, you're
There's
wrong.
no
The
whites.
four-
No, you're wrong.
The four groups of people
Sorry, you're wrong.
that the Indians make Turtle Island with: yellow, red, white, and black.
Yeah, I
The
don't
whites
see
have
things that
lived
way.
tribally much further back than any of the three cultures. Tribal living actually is inherent in people's nature and does something. When you're farthest away from tribal living, you're more dissected, and there's not as much as a communal type connection. And that's why I'm bringing up that this could permeate into modern culture. Just
Well,
something to
you know,
think
Nick,
about.
I seem to remember some woman recently saying it takes a village.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Soft spoken.
I remember
about
some woman
Africa
saying
way.
that. Takes a
Yeah.
village to raise a child.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, I'll
Yeah,
talk to you guys
exactly.
later. And,
Exactly. So that's all I'm saying, you know. And then I wanted to bring up how in Philadelphia they've canceled
See
Cinco.
ya. See ya.
Thank you for
Prof.
calling in.
They've
Please call in
canceled
again.
Cinco de Mayo in Philadelphia because of ICE rounding up so many people.
Yeah, it's an atmosphere of fear.
Yeah.
You know, and that does harken back to the way Nazi Germany was rounding up Jews and gypsies and gays.
700 people in
you
one
know,
week.
People with disabilities.
Right,
and,
yeah.
But
Yeah.
there was
Gays,
a woman
hippies.
from who survived Nazi Germany who said that you saw that in the media, who said that Trump is definitely a Nazi. His whole trip, it reminds her of Nazism.
Right. And we talked about Bannon. He's been running Breitbart, which is the, they call it the alt-right, but they're Nazis basically.
Right.
And Robert Mercer was funding Breitbart, and he's the money behind Trump. And
Yep.
Bannon and Kellyanne Conway are his people that he introduced into the Trump campaign with his money to run it. And their agenda is the alt-right, which is a Nazi, KKK, white supremacist agenda. And if you want to be disgusted, go and look at what's on Breitbart. And if you want to be really extremely disgusted, read the comments from all these white supremacists who read Breitbart. And these are Bannon's people.
So 700 people were detained in 1 week with the ICE raids in February.
3 seconds.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
Already?
Crazy.
Done,
Yeah,
huh?
it's 22.
my
It's
God.
22
Wow.
minutes.
Wow. All right.
And
Alright.
sometimes,
All right.
if
Are we
the-
recording still now?
yeah, sometimes
right.
if the next person doesn't show up, I extend the show for a little while
Well, it looks like no
to
one's
half
here
an
now.
hour. So
But,
I can-
but right now, for the 8 minutes from 6:22 to 7 o'clock,
We're off.
They don't show
Okay.
us.
But I can put it on YouTube as
Oh.
a half-hour show.
Okay.
Uh-huh,
Wow.
Yeah,
All right,
and
all right.
it's on YouTube and Facebook and all the social media that it really,
Yeah.
gets seen. Because like Monday night, my show was supposed to come on at 10:30 with Rainbow. He's a hippie and his song is against war and everything. And it was offline. Show
Wow.
was offline.
Wow.
So I've got to put it on
Yeah.
either YouTube or Vimeo.
So on
I'm gonna go
YouTube,
for
they tell you
Vimeo.
how many views it has. So you getting a fair number of views?
For different things, like a show about a young musician from 2010, before we went into these studios. Phil had set up, I don't know if you remember, Phil had set up a little TV screen here and it said Planet Glee, and then in the back it said Planet Glee. People gave that on Facebook at 300. I have 300 hits on that show
Wow. Wow.
because this whole thing kind of it's a waste of money.
No, it's not. This thing is great.
No,
I
no,
love
no.
this studio. It's not a waste of money.
But how can't we have a little thing right here that says, Richard Rance or Planet Glee?
It says it right on the screen.
I know.
That's where you need it. And I put up a board behind, but I mean, you don't need it. It's right there.
I guess so. Just that an artist had made my Planet Glee and it was really cool, and
Could they re-implement it, or?
I don't know. I haven't asked. It's not that big of a deal.
No.
It's not that big of a deal compared to homelessness and not having anything to eat, and
ICE.
Well, I think everybody should have food, shelter, and medical care.
And water.
We are the richest country in the world. That counts with food. We're the richest country in the world.
Right.
And there's no excuse for anyone in this country to be going hungry or not have a shelter. And anybody without a shelter, we have the resources in this country to provide a room, and even if they need mental health care and all of that, for everybody who needs it.
Yeah,
we could
let's
do
start
it.
here on the home front with
We
that
could
lead
do it.
kicking down, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean getting kicked out?
Yeah, we yeah.
How about getting kicked out? I mean, he's all show.
You know.
Uh,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and and no, I mean,
No conscience. No
thank
soul.
Well,
you.
Is
I
he
mean,
real?
and corrupt as he is, he's one of the most progressive mayors in America.
The fact that people can actually live on the streets with those tents and stuff.
And the policies of the city of San Francisco are
Well,
basically
we'll-
the most
we'll-
progressive
we'll
in
thank-
America, which
thank
isn't
most
saying
of the
much because
supervisors
America
for
is
that.
incredibly regressive.
Thank most
Yeah.
of the supervisors
Right
for that.
now.
If we didn't have the supervisors.
Yeah, but yeah,
We're
it's
not
true.
even in a liberal bloc right now, and it's still,
Well, yeah.
there's some on who are
Right, because
helping-
someone who's conservative by San Francisco standards is still a progressive by national standards.
That is another thing that I wanted to bring up, is that I see people wearing, just recently, the California sweatshirt.
the flag,
No, it says California, and it has the flag here at the bottom. And I was thinking about this when I was coming in because I saw someone wearing it, and as I was coming to the show, and I thought, whoa. So if you're born in California, that means that you get to stay here as if it breaks away from the United States.
if us in Texas succeed, and they go that way and we go this way,
I don't
Hey,
know.
I ain't leaving, and I wasn't born in California, so I don't agree with that policy.
No, I
Well,
don't
no, what
agree
she's
with that
saying is
policy
if it
either.
breaks away, who's ever here now could stay, right?
Who's
Yeah.
ever here now, not who was
Well, yeah.
born here.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
Well,
no.
they-
ridiculous.
How would they get
That
there?
would be
They'd have to
hard.
charter a boat or something, or I don't know. 'Cause
Yeah,
we'll
it would
break
be-
off the-
Then all the millions of people that live here that were not born here have to leave. That's just as bad as Trump's policies of sending people
Right.
forcibly out of the country.
Yeah.
No, I can't subscribe to anything like that.
Well, California actually
It'd be nice if we could succeed, though.
belongs to Mexico, and
Everything
know?
belonged to something else sometime in the
Right.
past. At some point, you just got to say, hey, sorry, you know what? Mexico is not getting California back.
well, I'm just saying by
Jimmy
saying
Carter
that.
already made a nice gesture by giving the Panama Canal back. That's enough.
That was nice, yeah.
Anyway, go ahead, Jennifer. I'm sorry.
Well, and then Puerto Rico. There's another.
And how far back do you want to go? Because before Mexico had it, somebody else had it, right? And so, and there were native peoples here before that.
Yeah,
So
all
how
the
far back do you
tribes.
want to go? So it becomes such a morass that you can't dig out of, and then you got to look at what is going on there now. And
Yeah.
you just can't kick all these people, all the people living there. It's horrible that the Native Americans were driven off of the land, but the ones living here now actually didn't do that. So
Right. But
how are you
it's-
going to
it's-
punish them for
It's
it?
awful that how the government's treated the Native Americans.
It
this
is
whole
awful.
time.
It's horrible, and more should be done for them.
Yeah, it's
But the
awful.
fact is, we can't give them back New York City at this point.
I was hoping
Yeah.
that Obama was going to pardon Leonard Peltier and
we all were.
Mumia.
I think he got threatened
Yeah.
by Clinton by the FBI. I think they said.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
read about
it-
that, and that's pretty scary because Obama needs Secret Service protection
Right.
for his family for the
Because
rest of
everyone
their
was
lives.
thinking, what a fuck you to Comey for if he freed Peltier after the October bogus surprise on Hillary.
Yeah, it would have been great. Yeah, but there's certain pressures, And Obama is not. He was great, but he's not
a Sanders
immune.
Kucinich.
He's not immune to those
Right.
pressures.
Where I think Sanders or Kucinich probably would have done it anyway.
Yeah, but some of the Bernie folks say that the ex-Bernie folks, the ones who stopped listening to Bernie Sanders when he said that they should support Hillary to avoid Trump becoming president.
Well,
And some of them, they stopped listening to him then, and they said, no, screw Hillary, she cheated, etc. To me, it's just such narrow vision, because you got to look at the bigger picture and see you've got, a huge evil coming in. And all of them said, Hillary's just as bad. Well, I'm sorry to use the term fake news again, but, Hillary was not just as bad for using a private email server. And if you read those emails, there was nothing like the treasonous collusion with the Russians on there. No, it was about how can we undermine Bernie Sanders, things like that. Well, they're running against him. You can expect that. Politics is dirty tricks. It's not pretty, but it's not a surprise, and it's not to the level of a Trump evil. So
no, I know. It's everybody was in shock. When he was elected, and the Women's March in January, I think we need to have it every month. And then all
we
all
have
the
to
people.
engage and organize.
Well, there are people. I. There are people, who are doing it.
There are.
And
We need more.
and
We need to
for
support
us, we
Yeah.
need to have them on our shows, and but I feel that the media is also helping out.
Oh yeah,
Dump, that's what I call him.
right. Don't Trump on me.
Chump.
Chump, yeah.
Don't Trump on me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and so it's like, he can be impeached.
That comes out on your microphone,
But we're not on.
Well,
But yeah, I'll be editing the show if
Oh,
you
yeah,
guys
right.
want me to take anything out. But
okay.
I'm surprised that
Sorry we talk so much.
no.
Especially,
I'm not.
Especially Richard.
I'm not sorry. Speak for yourself. You be sorry.
Well, it was her show.
Well, I have a question
You can
for
be
Richard.
sorry. I'm still not sorry.
Okay, Richard.
How many 5-hour energies you have today, man?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think about Britain and Israel?
What do I
What facets? Of
What do you
Britain
mean?
is it like,
Well, it was Britain that set up the state of Israel.
Right.
Okay.
And before that area, if my understanding is correct, was ruled by the Austro-Hungarian. No, it was a wide-ranging, mostly Islamic empire. The Ottoman Empire ruled that area directly before
The Arab
then.
world, in
Yeah.
other words.
Yeah, the Ottoman
Okay.
Empire. When the Ottoman Empire broke down, the British came into the vacuum in that area, in that part, and other parts. Different powers started taking control over what was controlled by the Ottoman Empire.
Okay.
So that's how that happened. It wasn't like it was an independent Palestine beforehand. It was part of the Ottoman Empire. And before that, it fell into different hands. And the population there has always been a mix of Christians, Muslims, Jews. They've all lived there.
However,
the
there
entire
hasn't been
time.
this full-on assault since 1967. Before that, like the way it's been going straight since 67. We had the Summer of Love. That stuff was starting over
Yeah,
there.
the 67 war is when
Right.
when the annexation happened.
Late June, early July of 67.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Right, and that's when the treaty was drawn up, and
No, the treaty was already
way
before
back
that.
long.
Yeah, that was the 7-Day War was in 1967.
67 when
That's
we
what I
had
thought.
when
Yeah.
we had the 7-day summer of love, they had the 7-day war.
Right.
A really good illustration of what's kind of going on now. It might be a little different. Was Michael Franny's 2006 movie "I'm Not Alone," where he actually goes over to all these, and we talked about it before, where he gets two Israeli guards to talk to these Palestinian kids who are throwing rocks, and he's like, "You're going to shoot those kids? They're only kids, and they're throwing rocks." And then Franny actually gets them to talk together, and they all bash Dick Cheney at that point. They don't even mention W. Bush because they know the real power. And Franny's like, "Yeah, I make no bones about it. That's why I'm here. I'm not proud of what we're doing." You know, but it's a great. You get to
He
see.
made his own film, or somebody
No,
filmed
he
him?
went over there with his guitar, and they filmed, and he's in the war zones playing his gun. The
Oh, I
Israeli
haven't seen
goes,
it.
"You're making me nervous," playing, and Franny goes, "You're making me nervous," the gun. And the Israeli guy, "Okay." They sort of had a truce then. And, but anyway,
2006 he did this?
2006, I Am Not Alone. A great movie.
Can you see it on...
I think so. It's probably on YouTube, or, you could Google it. He goes to the Gaza Strip, goes to Egypt. He interviews this punk band in Iraq that they only have 3 hours of electricity a day because, the conditions are so crazy over
Yeah.
there. And he describes, like, Americans don't know, you're driving to work and all of a sudden there could be this random shooting that starts this, and you're just going to work, and it happens. He's in a car with somebody going to work, and they're like, "Oh my God." And, and then this punk band, it's so endearing. They have 3 hours of electricity a day, and they use 2 hours of it for practice. And they're a lot of these people are in love with the old Western culture. Like kind of like Al Jazeera. Like in love with the '70s or the real America that people embraced in the media. Back then. And it's kind of endearing. But yeah, it's crazy conditions over there. But Michael Franti, I'm Not Alone. Please see it. A great movie. His scariest moment is when he is invited to perform for the U.S. Marine Corps, and he has to change the words to "power to the peaceful" to "power to the people." They wouldn't let him. And he said, "I was the most nervous performing there, even more so than talking
Right.
with the Israeli guards and the Palestinian kids on the border." So go figure. But I Am Not Alone, Michael Franti.
That
I Am
reminds
Not
me of, I
Alone.
just saw
Okay.
Straight Outta Compton the other day.
Oh, I've
never
never
seen
seen
that.
that. Is that
either.
Great movie
Wow.
about NWA.
Right.
And they had a situation
Oh,
where
wait,
they
I
were
did see it
playing
a
a
long time
concert
ago.
in
Yeah, yeah,
Detroit.
yeah.
And the Detroit police said, "You better not play that song, Fuck the Police. You better not play that song." And they're like, "Yeah, whatever." And then he's like, then when the concert comes out, the last song, they're like, "And this is especially for the Detroit Police Department. Fuck the police!" And they started going to that. It was a beautiful moment. The cops are all sitting there, and eventually they came up on stage and ended the show.
Wow.
But yeah,
And-
so
and-
that's similar to Michael, except the opposite. Michael Franti said, "Okay, I'll change it." NW
Right,
said,
right,
"Say,
right.
fuck it, man.
Well,
I ain't changing shit."
NWA though, but NWA, like to give Michael Franti credit, he was performing surrounded by Marines in a foreign country.
Well, this is true.
right, and,
this
and
is
these
true.
guys are so
You're right.
He
It is a
could've-
very different
he could have been not
situation.
heard of, but yeah.
Yeah.
But big kudos to NWA, and also
Yeah.
I saw that a long time. That special too.
No, Straight Outta Compton movie.
Right, I saw that a while back they were so revolutionary. They were the ones who got hip hop people wearing Raiders hats and things. They were the first ones to implement kind of like the sports and the skull within hip hop and everything. But yeah, they were actually quite revolutionary. I didn't even realize, because I'm not. It's not my first cup of tea in music, but yeah, there's something to be said about it.
Gangsta rap.
Well, in Scarlet Experiment
Yeah.
in 2015, we did a song called, I called it Chaka Gaza City, the 43, and the movie about Palestine, the cows, the 18, the Wanted 18, which is about, it's a total spoof on Israel. And always there's this little guy, we know he's not an Arab. And he says, "Oh, it is something that is dangerous to the well-being of Israel." these cows.
Wow.
And it's called the Wanted 18. And then in 2015, there were the 43 students in Mexico who disappeared, and then like Ian does a really killer solo on it, solo guitar of like pure pathos, and it got taken off SoundCloud.
Weird. But what just clicked into me is Smoking Indian Buffet. Because actually, it's been over for a while, the show. We
Yeah.
should get on out of here, right?
We can split.
I'm ready to get out of here.
Okay.
Yeah, because you've been here already
Yeah.
for. But thank you for talking with me
Yeah,
about
thanks,
that.
Jennifer.
Thank you for,
Yeah.
And, Israel initially meant a state of consciousness, of enlightenment, the word Israel. And that's kind of come a long way from there.
Yeah, well, it's Mr. Netanyahu and etc. It's all the leaders of all
Well, that's
our
what
countries
in
that
the
need
movie.
to.
That's what basically what the Israeli and the Palestinian kids and Franny all say. It's all our world leaders, and they go, "We would all get along if it weren't for Dick Cheney." That's what they kept saying. And your leader, and Dick Cheney. And I thought it was funny they never mentioned W. Bush because they knew who had the power.
Well, they knew he was kind of like
The Republican
a comic figure,
right? It's been
not
the
to be taken seriously.
Republican format since Reagan to have the powerful vice president and the kind of wingnut guy in charge, the figurehead.
Oh, that time was so embarrassing. I remember seeing Michael Franti in
Spearhead.
No, I've seen him since he was in the first band.
Got a vest on.
Do you remember the first band?
What's that?
Beatniks.
The Beatniks, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was serving cocktails at the Stud, and they played at
Wow.
the Beatniks played at the
Right.
show
Yeah,
That's
yeah, they're
right.
fun.
at that show that night.
I always forget that. That was his first band.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah,
and
okay.
then the Disposable Heroes of Hip-Hoppercy.
That's right.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And I'm gonna say goodbye. I'm gonna shut off record.